Hello, everyone. I want to call to order, and I would like to read the accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1822. And the notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI / non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room. It is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Again, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information, and thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And who will be doing the roll call for attendance?
I can do that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Abington,
John Stone.
Bruce Hughes alternate.
thank you. Avon. Bridgewater. Brockton,
Here.
thank you. Duxbury. East Bridgewater. Easton,
Greg Swan, Town of Easton.
thank you. Halifax. Hanover. Hanson,
Don Howard from Hanson.
thanks, Don. Kingston,
Val Massard from Kingston.
thanks, Val. Pembroke,
Our JTC delegate isn't here, but I'm the OCPC delegate here on behalf of OCPC.
thank you. Plymouth. Plimpton. Stoughton. West Bridgewater. Whitman,
Dan Salvucci, alternate.
Marino True Delegate.
thank you. Brockton Area Transit. Okay, and MassDOT District 5.
Hi, everybody. Barbara LaChance here, and I also have Alex Duggan here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you. All set, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Bill. Item number 2, which is public comments. Are there any public comments today? Hearing none, I'm going to move on to item 3, which are the minutes of the May 4th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion on the floor for that meeting?
I'll make that motion. Dan Salvucci from Whitman.
Second?
Don Howard from Hanson.
All right, could we have the roll call, Bill, please?
Abington,
Yes.
Avon. Bridgewater. Brockton,
Yes.
Duxbury. East Bridgewater. Easton,
Yes.
Halifax. Hanover. Hanson,
Yes.
thank you. Kingston,
Yes.
Pembroke,
Do I speak on behalf of Pembroke or just OCPC?
Pembroke,
Yes.
thank you. Plymouth. Plimpton. Stoughton. West Bridgewater,
Yes, Stoughton.
thank you. And Whitman.
Yes.
And I don't know if we have anyone from Brockton Area Transit yet, do we? Okay, and MassDOT District 5,
Yes.
thank you.
I'm going to move on to item number 4, which is communications, and that would be Sean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, for the communications packet this month. The first item is the draft MassDOT fiscal year 24 to 28 SIP, short for capital investment plan. The draft plan is now available for public review. It is presented in the form of a static document and a story map. The hyperlinks in the staff report today, you can view the plan in its draft form. And the public comment period will end June 9th. You can send it. You can submit public comments from either an email to the address on your screen, a letter to the MassDOT Office of Transportation address, use the interactive comment tool on their website, and attend a virtual public meeting and deliver your comment in person. The timeline after the public comment period, the final plan will be presented to the MassDOT Board of Directors for approval June 21st, and it will go into effect July 1st. And these are a list of the public meetings that started back in late May, Tuesday, May 23rd. The next item is the Community Transit Grant Program details and eligibility fiscal year 2024 application cycle. The cycle opened May 8th and it will close June 23rd. Please email Rachel Fichtenbaum at MassDOT to learn more. And for more information, you can also visit the hyperlink in your staff report. Next item is promoting resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation program, PROTECT for short. Federal Highway Administration recently announced the availability of $848 million in competitive grant funding for local governments and organizations, including transit agencies, to undertake projects to address climate crisis. Applications must be submitted electronically through the grants.gov website by Friday, August 18th. For more information, you can click on the link in your staff report. The next is an announcement that Pam Hasner of MassDOT, she will be retiring after 39 years of wonderful service to MassDOT. The celebration will be Thursday, July 6th at the Reservation Golf Club in Mattapoisett. You can purchase your tickets at eventbrite.com with the hyperlink in the staff report. And that is communications.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions of Sean on the, we have some new programs that were posted up there today. He gave you the websites, but if you have questions, you can always call. Okay, hearing none. And also I'd like to welcome, I saw as one of the people who attending today, Bill Roth, which is the new Stoughton town planner. And I'd like to welcome you, Bill, to our meeting and hope that you'll be an avid attendee and participant.
Thank you, Noreen. Yes, I will. Mark has requested that I be alternate and wanted me to attend.
Great.
So,
welcome.
Bear with me if I call it JTPG because I have 22 years of SERPED, which I know Bill and Charlie know that.
Okay, we'll forgive you for that, but
A lot of
get with the
acronyms.
program, get with the program. We'll give you a
All the
couple of months.
acronyms.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I'd also like to welcome a representative from Senator Brady's office, Al Girolamo. Thank you, Al, for attending. We always like to have someone from the senator's office come to our meetings and be part of the process. Thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And it's DiGirolamo. No big deal. But it's my pleasure to pass on your meeting to the senator. So thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you for coming. Always a welcome participant from the senator's office. All righty, as we move forward, I'm going to move down to item 5, which are reports. And do we have someone here from the Brockton Area Regional Transit Authority, Mike or Glenn?
I don't believe we have anyone from BAT at this time, so I don't
Okay,
believe we
they
have a
might
BAT
be-
update.
They might be coming in later.
Yeah, I know Glenn can't, because she told me she couldn't make it today, so.
Okay, so you've given the update?
No, we, at this time, there's no update unless somebody from BAT comes
Okay.
on later on.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Mhm.
All righty, item number 2 is your Greater Attleboro Taunton Regional Transit Authority, GATRA, and that would be Sean.
We actually have Mary Ellen DeFrias, the administrator for GATRA. Mary Ellen, do
Great.
you have any updates for GATRA?
Sure. I think we are all actively watching the budget right now, because depending on where we land between the three versions, there would be additional funding coming to the RTAs. Our focus here at GATRA would be 7-day-a-week service. So we are hoping that funding comes through so that we can add on Sunday service in all of our communities. And then look at other ways that we can have some service improvements. We're also looking long-term planning to improve our service to the Plymouth area. We were going to be building a maintenance facility down in Wareham that would allow us to have electric vehicles in the Plymouth area, because we would have a closer charging station than we currently have. So those are our updates from GATRA.
Thank you, Mary. Any questions for Mary? All right, I'm going to move forward on to item C, which is the South Coast Rail Project. Sean?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As everybody knows, South Coast Rail is moving on. They are currently working on phase 1, which is set to be operational by the end of this calendar year. And some of the work that was done in the month of May of this year, setting up the work site and beginning initial construction for a pedestrian bridge over Route 18 in New Bedford that will provide pedestrian access to the New Bedford station. Continued daytime shoulder and lane closure on Route 140 South in Taunton for utility installation and traffic signal modifications. Overnight testing at the new Middleborough station site. 24-hour work at the Wamsuta layover, Middleborough station and New Bedford station sites. Nighttime road work on routes 105 and 28 near the new Middleborough station site. And paving and striping of the New Bedford station site parking lot. Additional work includes construction at station sites, layover sites, and along the right-of-way along the project route. And if anyone is interested in signing up for the weekly updates for this project, you can click on the hyperlink in the staff report, enter your email address, and receive automatic weekly updates. And in addition, we have a flyer that was sent out for this project, a monthly safety first reminder, reminding everybody that safety is a priority for everyone. And then this was one of the emails that came with the in addition to the weekly construction emails that they send out. And
Thank you,
that
Sean.
is my report for South Coast Rail.
Any questions for Sean regarding the South Coast Rail? All right, thank you so much, Sean, for your work. Item number 6 is old business, which is the FFY 2023 to 2027, the TIP implementation program, and that would be Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
So in this report, I'm just going to give you an update on federal fiscal year 2023, which, as you know, we're currently in. So the good news is all these projects are still on track for advertisement this year. So the first one on your screen is the Duxbury bridge replacement, Route 3 over Franklin Street. That project was advertised, and construction is going to begin very shortly if it hasn't already. So that's good news. The next project, the corridor improvements on Route 138. This was an advanced construction project over 2 years in 2023 and 2024. You can see in the highlighted line there that the scope of this project has changed, where it had originally been the entire corridor for those 2 years. Now it is changed to 300 feet north of Charles Avenue to Lincoln Street. So that takes at least out of this phase,
Thank you.
it takes the northern portion of the corridor, including the York Street intersection up by the Canton Town Line, out of this project. There's still intention to do that section. It's just being broken up into 2 different projects now, so that the northern portion will eventually get programmed as a separate project. And I don't have a timeline. I don't have an idea when that would be programmed, but I would just ask everyone to stay tuned. And finally, the other project in Stoughton, Central Street at Tosca in Canton, that is still on track for this year. And that's my update for federal fiscal year 2023. If anyone has any questions.
Barbara LaChance has her hand raised.
Hi, good morning. Yes, we actually, excuse me, we brought phase 2 of the Stoughton project to PRC today. So we're
Okay.
moving forward with the second section.
Great.
Thank
Cool.
you, Barbara. Any other questions for Bill or comments?
I would ask for Barbara. So that's presumably at an advanced stage of design in and of itself.
It is,
Alright,
yes,
yeah.
and it's already up to 100%, and we plan on moving it forward from there. So
Mhm.
we're hoping, fingers crossed, that that we can move forward with advertising as soon as all the Article 97 issues are addressed, and it goes through Article 97 process, that we can move forward with it through there. So that's the plan. That's what we're hoping for. We'll see.
Great, thank you.
Could take some time, but we're gonna just keep going forward with it.
Thanks, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Bill, also, and Charlie. Moving on to item 7, which is new business. This is the report from the nominating committee in an election of Colony JTC offices 2023 to 2024. Bill?
Yep. So I believe we have Kamaya on the line, and I know she was on the nominating committee, and I believe she has a report from the nominating committee on nomination of officers.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Bill. The nominating committee, we discussed and we submit the following nominations: Noreen O'Toole as chairwoman and Dan Salvucci as vice chairman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you
No
very
problem.
much.
Yep,
Okay.
I accept.
I accept also.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your confidence in us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Our pleasure. I'm not sure, does this have to go to a vote now?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved. Don Howard.
Michael Lambert, second.
Okay, great. So Abington,
Yes.
Avon, Bridgewater, Brockton,
Yes.
thank you. Duxbury, East Bridgewater, Easton,
Yes.
Halifax, Hanover, Hanson,
Yes.
Kingston,
Yes.
Pembroke, Plymouth, Plimpton, Stoughton,
Yes.
West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Yes.
Yes.
Brockton Area Transit,
Yes.
and MassDOT District 5.
Yes.
Thank you. And
Avon.
Avon. Did I skip over Avon? I'm sorry. Avon.
Yes.
Thank you.
I got in late, so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I believe we have Mike Lambert on the line now. So if you wanted to
Yes.
go back to item 4.
Yes. I wanted to go back to item 5A, the BAT report. Michael?
Thank you, Chair. 2 items today. One is BAT
successfully received board approval and then submitted to the Federal Transit Administration our Title VI plan, which is a joint project with Old Colony Planning Council and based upon their public participation plan. So many thanks to OCPC for the hard work on it, and we thought it came out really, really well. And we'll hopefully meet FTA approval and have a set for the next 3 years. Second, we're reacting to the recent closure last night of Compass Medical sites throughout our district, 6 different locations. This is on top of course, the Brockton Hospital closure and some other changes to the healthcare industry. So we're watching that carefully. That that's going to pose certainly a transportation and public health challenge to our community, and one that we'll do everything we can to try and mitigate the impact upon our residents and visitors. That is all.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions or comments? All righty. We're going to move forward under item 7B, which is the Old Colony FFY 2024 Unified Planning Work Program. And Charlie, this would be an action item for the committee?
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay.
So
did you want to give, an update on that?
yeah, I was just going to give some opening remarks and open
Okay.
it up to the floor for questions. And I apologize to those of you who've seen this talking point before. I know some of you have been in different meetings, and I do recognize that we provided the full document and the announcement of this meeting when Bill McNulty sent out the meeting materials. So next slide, please. So the Unified Planning Work Program is basically the scope of work and budget for the transportation planning staff to be conducted on behalf of the MPO. And this work program commences on October 1st. The MPO at their meeting in May had released this to a public review and comment period. And we're going through the public comment period now. And one of the stops along the way is with the Joint Transportation Committee to see if they have any comments or questions on it. And then the MPO will hear public comments at their June meeting and consider endorsement of this plan. I note that this plan is funded multiple ways. The funding sources include Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, MassDOT, and the Brockton Area Transit. And we extend our sincere thank you to our funding partners to help us do this important planning work. On your screen, you see the table of contents for the Unified Planning Work Program. And note that we have an introduction, but in task 1000, that's our management supportive planning process and certification activities. And highlighted here are some of the key elements, such as the public participation program, the transportation improvement program, and our Title VI program. In task 2000, data reconnaissance and acquisition, that's where we have our management systems tasks, such as congestion, pavement, and safety, and importantly, our travel demand model. Also in task 2000, we have important items such as our traffic counting program and our demographic and census related activities. And then we also have our geographic information systems and related mapping technical assistance to communities. Next slide. Task 3000, that's our short and long range transportation planning activities. And this includes more of our discretionary tasks. And I will just highlight subtask 3300 and subtask 3400. The first being in Kingston, that's a Route 3A and 53 corridor study in its entirety. And we'll be looking at obviously traffic operations in the corridor and how it interrelates with intersecting streets and what are some of the opportunities for potential land use developments in that area. And then there's also a Route 139 corridor study in Stoughton, and this would begin at Stoughton Square and travel northeasterly all the way to the Randolph town line. And again, similar to the Kingston study, this will include baseline conditions, future alternatives analysis, public participation, working closely with the jurisdiction partners. Obviously, in both of these studies, that it's a mix of jurisdiction, whether it's the local jurisdiction or MassDOT. So, and also coordinating with regional transit partners along the way. And just a item here too is the Safe Streets for All action plan support. I note that one of our team members, Bill McNulty, had prepared a Safe Streets for All action plan application, and that was a successful award. So we're in the process now of going into an agreement with Federal Highway Administration before we incur any costs. And once we have an agreement in place, we're going to issue an RFP for consulting services. And this was an overall $400,000 grant, $50,000 of which will be for OCPC staff time. And then at task 4,000, that's our other technical assistance activities. And that includes transit technical assistance. And importantly, it also includes technical assistance and studies in partnership with the Brockton Area Transit, such as the one that Administrator Lambert had spoken to earlier, that being the Title VI report. And then rounding it out in our appendices, we have self-certification compliance statements, the budget. Next slide, please. And the next slide actually shows tasks with their associated costs and their funding sources in their totality. And I note that this overall work program is totals just about just south of $1.3 million. So, staff here is looking forward to commencing work on this, and we're here to answer any questions that the committee may have. And if there are no questions, we would certainly love to have a motion on the floor to endorse said work program, and we will report this favorably to the MPO.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor for the FFY Old Colony 2024 Unified Planning Work Program. Do I have a
I'll make
second
that-
on, second?
Second, Dan.
Second.
And roll call, Bill, please?
Yep. Abington,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Bridgewater,
Yes.
Brockton,
Yes.
East Bridgewater, Duxbury, Easton,
Yes.
thank you, Halifax, Hanover, Hanson,
Yes.
Kingston,
Yes.
Pembroke,
Yes.
Plymouth, Plimpton, Stoughton,
Yes.
West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Yes.
MassDOT District 5,
Yes.
and Brockton Area Transit.
Yes.
Thank you, Bill. The motion carries unanimously. A quick question, Charlie. When does that 21-day public review period commence?
It commenced on the day that the MPO released it. I think it was May 16th.
Yep.
Okay, I was just interested in that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we've been pretty flexible with the endpoint of that public participation.
Uh-huh,
We've kept it typically open until 4 o'clock on the Friday before the next MPO meeting, which
mhm.
is beyond the 21 days. So if folks
Okay.
have any, afterthoughts on the document, feel free to email us here at the council.
Great, good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all your work on that too.
Yep, you're welcome. And I would also entertain that the comments can be offered at the MPO meeting itself. So
Okay, great. And when is the next MPO meeting?
Couple of weeks.
June 18th, June
18th,
20th,
okay.
June 18th, I believe.
Just in case someone wants to listen in.
I think June 19th is a Monday.
So yes, so it would be June 20th.
Okay, great.
June 20th.
Alrighty, item number 7C, which is the vision for the 2050 long-range transportation plan. And Bill and Kyle will be discussing regional profile chapter and socioeconomic projections, environmental chapter, and the vulnerable road users chapter. Bill and Kyle?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, yep, we do have an update on 3 of our chapters with the LRTP as we get closer to being able to present a complete draft document later this summer. So I'll start off talking about the regional profile chapter. So you might recall in years past, this is the chapter that the big centerpiece of this, the socioeconomic forecast or projections. So looking at population, household, and employment in the region through 2050. This is done in a collaborative effort between the regional agencies, the MPOs of the state, along with MAPC and MassDOT and the UMass Donahue Institute. The UMass Donahue Institute, they're the ones that are actually doing the heavy lift on a lot of this data projections that they're under contract with the MassDOT. So this is the main centerpiece of this chapter, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes. I will note that these forecasts, they're developed using what's called an urban SIMS model. So it's specifically generated for input into travel demand models. So to help us forecast traffic and trip generation in the region through 2050, and which is also ultimately used for greenhouse gas emissions analysis. There are other sources out there, so sometimes this data conflicts with other sources, and that's completely, normal and understandable. Sometimes this data can have a little bit of bias. I'll talk about it in a minute, but so if you want to just go to the next page. So these are the population projections through 2050. I won't go through town by town, but you can see some towns are generated to grow a little more than others. Some towns by 2050 see a population decrease. You can see down the bottom, overall, the region is expected to grow about a little over 1% by 2050 from where we are now, whereas the state overall is expected to be a little over 3%. The general trend is expected after 2030, population growth will become relatively stagnant. And then from 2040 to 2050, there'll actually be, there's anticipated to be a reversal of population growth, so a declining population. So what's going into this? So a lot of UMass Donahue Institute, they use a lot of factors in determining these forecasts. And so they look at migration trends, they look at the current age of the population, current sex profile of the population, and also in things like birth rates, death rates, and inward migration and outward migration. And so what these models are picking up on, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that in the state and this region, we tend to have an older population. And so as that population dies off, then I'm trying to think of a delicate way to put that, but that's basically what it is.
Nice one,
And
Bill.
and so as baby boomers shift off on the population trends, with current birth rates and current migration trends, there's a lot of thought that the population will not be able to replace itself, that it will eventually start to reverse a little bit. And so that's what this data is showing. So what's happening in the Old Colony region is very, well, the projections anyways, it's very consistent with other regions in southeastern Massachusetts, like Serpent and the Cape. This model, this trend does tend to have a little bit of an urban bias, thinking that younger populations will gravitate more towards urban centers like the greater Boston area, largely housing affordability. So, the housing affordability in southeastern Massachusetts could become a major problem. So those are the factors going into this. So I know that in the past we presented these numbers in the past, and there's always a little bit of a shock value sometimes. People, community, we're going to lose population, or we're only going to grow that much, and so I would take it with a grain of salt. So this is only for the travel demand forecast, and communities can always use other sources or generate their own data for population or projecting populations in the communities. So that's the population, and then I'll get to the really fun part, on employment. This is where the urban SIMS model that they use, it does struggle with this, in all honesty. So this is largely based on planned developments in the region, and also trends in individual employment sectors. So you can see it's kind of all over the place, employment forecasts, community by community in the region. But what I probably paid most attention to is the bottom portion, where it compares Old Colony region to Massachusetts. So it does show a pretty significant job loss in the region through 2050, whereas the state is having a modest employment employment growth. And again, this is that urban bias. It's picking up that jobs are going to shift away from the suburban regions and into the urban regions, urban centers. As the population, if the population does slow or even reverse, then there wouldn't be, so certain sectors like service sectors, jobs wouldn't necessarily be needed in those areas. So again, these are the numbers that this model came up with. This is the area that had the most back and forth between the regions and UMDI. So we, not just us, but other regions, we kind of objected and said, well, look, we have all this land and all this area where economic development could occur, and their argument back was, well, we can't model based on on land. If there needs to be planned projects. And so we populated the model as best we could with what we knew of actual projects that could occur in the region in the coming years. But this is the output that we got back. And so I would take it with a grain of salt. I mean, my personal opinion is I don't think we're going to, I don't know if we'll have a booming employment growth through 2050, but I also don't know if we'll necessarily see losses to that extent. So those are the forecasts. So recommendations that are coming out of this chapter. So if you recall, in previous meetings, we presented the goals and objectives. So one of the goals of this plan is supporting economic development. So recommendations that are coming out of this chapter are largely recommendations that integrate transportation strategies with economic development and community development strategies. So things that support smart growth, support access to employment centers, things that'll make this region more attractive to employment and facilitate economic growth. Those are the types of recommendations that are coming out of this chapter. So before I move on to the next chapter, I can answer any questions on this chapter before I move on to the next one. Okay, well, I could just move on to the next one. Thanks, Sean. So the environmental chapter. So this chapter is largely looking at how the greatest threat from the environment in this region is from climate change. You can see on your screen how climate change could impact this region. So increased frequency and severity of urban flooding in inland areas and freshwater flooding. So heavier rain events will lead to greater flooding, which will in turn threaten infrastructure in certain areas. Increased frequency and severity of coastal storms, including hurricanes and nor'easters. The impacts from these would be wind damage to structures, coastal inundation from storm surge, damage to coastal structures from battering waves, damage to coastal infrastructure. So these are all the things that these are the threats to the transportation system in this region that we know of from climate change. So the recommendations coming out of this chapter are largely recommendations that have come out of other plans that have already been developed by OCPC, like the hazard mitigation plan. So things like site hardening of facilities, strategies that will help protect coastal areas and mitigate impacts from sea level rise and the severity of these coastal storms. Strategies that will promote alternative fuels, like expanded electrical vehicle charging stations that help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and so not just our region, but globally trying to reduce GHG emissions and to slow or curb the impacts from climate change. So these are the type of recommendations that are coming out of this chapter. So if anyone has any questions on that. Okay, so with that, I'll hand it off to my colleague Kyle, who'll talk about vulnerable road users.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, so we'll be talking about the our vulnerable road users chapter in LRTP. Just go over some highlights of the chapter and then go over some of the recommendations. So all of you might be aware already, but on January 2nd of this year, Governor Baker signed, it's called an Act to Reduce Traffic Fatalities. He signed that into law, and this has a variety of components that'll make roadways within the OCPC region and across the Commonwealth safer for everyone. And the key components of that bill, first off, it defines vulnerable road user, which is, it includes people walking and biking, as well as roadside workers, people using wheelchairs, scooters, skateboards, roller skates, etc. It also talks about safe passing. It requires safe passing distance to be 4 feet. Massachusetts is actually one of the last states to pass a safe passing distance. And this will be in line with other states in terms of roadway safety. Next component is truck safety devices. This requires state contracted trucks to be equipped with safety side guards, mirrors, and backup cameras to reduce fatalities. It also talks about safer speed limits. It clarifies the process for municipalities to alter speed limits in thickly settled from 30 miles an hour down to 25. The next component is crash reporting. It improves to improve statewide data collection surrounding vulnerable road users crashes. It developed a standardized analysis tool to be used to report crashes and incidents involving person biking or walking. And the last component it talks about is rear red light requirement, how bikes, if you're riding at night, are required to have a red light on the back of your bike, as well as the front, actually. And next I'll talk about just a note about safe routes to school. There continues to be elementary, middle, and high schools in our region not taking advantage of that program. There's currently 98 safe routes to school eligible schools in our region, and out of 98, there's 51 right now. So it's pretty good. We're about half, but there's still many schools not using that program. And those numbers are as of January of this year. And just going through some recommendations that come out of this chapter. First off, continued support of the MassDOT Complete Streets program. Next, improve mobility and access to the pedestrian infrastructure network for all users. Encourage, promote walking and biking as a viable, healthy transportation alternative to automobile commuting and as a means to improve air quality. Next is identify, designate, and implement additional bicycle paths and routes within our region, and also interregional connections. There'll be a section on that in the chapter regarding connections to the region surrounding us. Some routes were selected. Connections to the west. We have Route 106. Connections to the south. Route 138. We can also utilize South Coast Rail Phase 2, the rail right of way that could be turned into a shared use path. Also to the South State Road in Plymouth, which is the Clare Saltonstall Bikeway. One improvement that could be made on that bikeway is improved signage. A lot of times you're on the Saltonstall Bikeway, but you don't even know it because there's not enough signage. And then connections to the north, also the Phase 2 rail right of way, and also utilizing Route 28, which is also part of the Clare Saltonstall Bikeway. And then some other recommendations: promote increased participation in the Safe Routes to School program, which I mentioned earlier. Promote continued installation of bicycle detection loops at actuated signalized intersections. Install physical barriers, pavement markings, and other amenities where needed to maximize pedestrian safety. Promote installation of pedestrian countdown signals at signalized intersections. And then lastly, yep.
Just on the interregional bike connections, I know the Cape has done something to revitalize the signage and stuff on their portion of the Saltonstall.
Okay.
And you know that goes all the way from Plymouth up through Avon and ends in Blue Hills or beyond that. The other one is when you talk to the trails people, they talk about connections regionally to, the green Bay Circuit path and all that. And we really don't have a lot of connections. I don't know if that's something that could be looked at some point from Brockton.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that.
Thanks.
And just the last recommendation here, I have noted, promote safer pedestrian access designs in parking lots. And yeah, that's our recommendations. And if anybody has any questions on this chapter, I can be happy to answer them. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle and Bill. Nice job. Any comments? All right. Great. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm gonna move on to item 8 under other business. And that's community local technical assistance studies, and that would be Bill again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So a couple updates. We've recently completed a road safety audit for the intersection of Plymouth Street, Route 106 at Pine Street in Halifax. That document is currently being reviewed by stakeholders and will be finalized very soon. And we have a new road safety audit request, this one for the town of Duxbury, looking at Hall's Corner, which is with the intersection of Washington Street, Depot Street, and Standish Avenue, I believe. We'll be working with the town to schedule this road safety audit later this summer, and that is my update.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions on these technical assistance studies or RDAs? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Bill. I'm gonna go on to 8B, which is your staff reviews and the ENFs, EIRs, and MPCs. And welcome back, Kyle, to your presentations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Sean, you can go to the next slide. So the first new project we have here is in Plymouth. It's the Pinnacle Bogs restoration. This proposed development includes, it's the restoration of approximately 14.5 acres. It's a recently retired commercial cranberry bog, and it's going to be creating a self-sustaining wetlands mimicking pre-development conditions. And then going into certificates, first one in Rainham, the Rainham Park development. I know this isn't in our region, but we sometimes include projects that could have effect on our region. The certificate states that this project adequately and properly complies with MIPA. Next is another project in Rainham, the Mill Street roadway improvement project. The certificate states that this project does not require an environmental impact report. Next, we have 2 public notices. First in Kingston, notice of intent to initiate an ecological restoration project. And this consists of the replacement of the existing undersized culvert at the Jones River in Kingston. And the project will replace the existing 48-inch diameter concrete pipe with a 18-foot, 17-inch wide, open bottom aluminum box culvert. And the last public notice is for Pembroke and Hanson, the notice of intent to initiate an aquatic plant management program. And this is located at Oldham Pond in Pembroke and Hanson. And it involves the mitigation of harmful algae blooms. And that concludes my report.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments for Kyle on these projects? Well, hearing none. Thanks again, Kyle.
You're
I'm going to
welcome.
move on to the item C, which is the regional concerns in local community transportation issues. And I open the floor up to any delegate that has a comment or a question.
Maureen?
Bruce?
Yeah, folks know, I don't know if you folks know this or not, but they've recently extended the Abington Rockland Rail Trail into Hanover, and they did a really nice job of paving it in Hanover. So Kathy and I can't wait to get our bikes out there on that. But that's gonna be a nice long ride from Abington into Hanover now on the old rail branch there.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Bruce.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Yes,
Don?
no, Don Howard.
yes.
No, I don't know whether I should have asked this before or now, but in Hanson, I have two retention and one detention and one retention area that's built underground. And Hanson, I don't know, nobody really knows it, but I do. It's flooded with water. And we have 20 of them in town that are open air ones, and they're doing nothing but breeding mosquitoes in the summertime. And I have a little 10-minute, it's about a 10-minute PowerPoint that my daughter made up for me on one retention and one detention that was built in Hanson and operative since 2008 and 2009. And they're working perfectly. And I was wondering if I could maybe get on the agenda sometime and put on this little 10-minute PowerPoint to show Plymouth County what our underground detention and retention area looks like and how it's operating. And that's my question.
Yes, I think Dawn, the committee would be open to having a presentation of that nature. Sure.
The only thing is, it's hard for me where I'm blind. I can't go anywhere. And I'm on the telephone now, but I know Danny knows where I live. And if something could be done, maybe Danny could come down to my house with his computer and maybe do it from the house at one of the meetings.
Well, may I ask, John, is it on a disc?
No, it's not on a disc. It's on a plug-in that you plug in. You plug into the computer.
Is there some way I could get that to Old Colony and they can plug it into theirs and present it
Yes.
on the screen here?
Well, I can get it. I can see you. It's on a plug that you just plug into the computer.
Sounds like a flash drive, yeah.
Yes.
Right, a flash drive.
It's a flash drive. That's what it is. Yes.
Right, but what I'm saying is if that flash drive got to Old Colony, they can put it on so all can see it.
Is
Yeah, we can
somebody
work that
over
out.
there all the time over to Brockton?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Or maybe if I can get a ride over to the office and give them the flash drive and they can copy it onto a disc or whatever.
Whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
Or if your daughter could even, I mean, we don't even need the actual flash drive. If they could she could probably just email us the PowerPoint and
Well, see, that's the trouble. I can't do anything because I'm helpless here at the house. I know I'm a pain
Right.
in the butt, but I think I've presented it to the town, and they really don't want to do anything about it. But a lot of these detention and retention areas that are built in Hanson has a perk rate of probably 3 inches a minute, and it's beautiful material. And and when you have an open detention and retention area, they just plug up and don't work. And that's what I'm trying to eliminate in the town. And I just think if everybody could see it, maybe it could be expanded somewhere throughout Plymouth County. I don't know. So that's my question. So maybe I'll give Danny a call after the meeting.
Yeah, John, Don, so you know, I am not being able to drive for a few weeks because I had a shoulder replacement.
Okay, well, no, I can get a ride over to Brockton.
Yeah.
If that would help you out. As long as I know somebody's there at the office, that's all.
Yeah. Have your daughter drive you to Brockton, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Call.
So anyway, that's all I got, and,
Sure.
if I get the free time and have her drive me over there some morning or afternoon or whatever.
Okay, and once they get it, we can make arrangements on how it will be presented. Okay?
Okay, all right. No, that's what I mean. I think,
Yes.
I think it'd be a good idea if everybody could see it all over Plymouth
Sure.
County. I really
Sure.
do, because there's a lot of towns that have a high water table.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you. Any pieces of information are great for the region. So that's great, Don. Thanks for taking the time to do that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. So
There you go.
you might recall last month I presented the 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program, and there was a project on there, a new project, intersection improvements at Belmont Street, Route 123,
Mhm.
at Pearl Street and Stonehill Avenue. So that we recently had a project kickoff meeting for that. MassDOT facilitated that with their designer. So that was a meeting that was between MassDOT, Old Colony, and the city. So that was a great meeting and very informative. It's going to be a great project. So thank you, MassDOT, for not only hosting that meeting, but also pushing that, advancing that project. It's going to be a great project for the city. And my other item, if I don't know if John Stone is still on the line, but I just would give a nod of appreciation to the town of Abington for improvements that they recently made at Old Randolph Street and Thicket Street. That was a project that the town had recently completed through a grant that they secured. So this is outside of the Transportation Improvement Program, but it was designed to improve safety at that intersection. And yeah, I lived down the street from it. It came out great. And
Thank you, Bill. We're
yeah.
very, very happy with the project.
Yeah, great job with that.
Thank you. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing, everyone. Any other comments? All right, hearing none. And again, I just want to thank everyone. I really enjoy being the chair of the committee. And I know that, of course, Dan enjoys it. And we thank you for having confidence in us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Were we thinking about the July meeting? Remember you wanted to poll the committee?
Yes.
Do we want to do that now, or you think there's enough that we need to hold a meeting in July? That
Well,
was a question.
well, that's up to you people. If you want to skip July, skip it. I mean, I tried to do this a year ago. I've been working on this project a long time, and I
Right.
don't seem to be getting anywhere. And I just think it's something that I think that everybody should know, should see this. I mean, it's working
Right.
perfectly, and they've been in the ground working now for about 12 years.
Okay,
Well-
I think right now, I think, Dan, I think that you were maybe asking if the council and the JTC needed to do anything, of the staff there, that we needed to have a July meeting? Like, do they
Yes.
have any deadlines or programs that we need to vote on before those particular deadlines? And
Yes.
I'm gonna turn that over to Charlie to see if we need to have that meeting, and if so, that's fine with us,
Fine with
Charlie.
me, yeah.
So as luck would have it, it looks like we're in a lull for action items before the committee that would land on a July meeting. So I think it would be safe to take a summer break. But to honor Don Howard's request for a presentation, I think we could certainly accommodate that at the August meeting and pencil that in for
Absolutely.
August. So I
No,
think
that'll be,
that's-
that'll be fine. That'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay,
That'll give me time to get over to Brockton and so
Yeah.
you can get things all ready and set up and do it in August.
okay, that's great. I just wanted to check, with the staff to see if that worked for the staff also.
No, I understand. I
Right.
understand.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you all. Any other questions or comments? So now we know we're not meeting in July for sure, so that's a good thing. Anything else to add? All right, well, thank you all for attending. We have great attendance. And we will see you in August. And everyone, everyone be notified. We'll let you know. Okay.
Everybody
motion-
have a good summer.
Yeah,
Yes.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we can just wave, all in favor. Have a great
Aye.
July. Thank you all for
Have a
attending.
great,
Thanks, everyone.
have a
good
great summer.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.